India's Narendra Modi, the Earth Alliance, and full disclosure. Aloha everyone, I'm Dr. Michael Salla, and I want to respond to a Time magazine article that is essentially a hit piece on India's Narendra Modi, pointing out what have been a number of criticisms about his presidency or his prime ministership. He became prime minister in 2014 and was re-elected in 2019, and his party, the Bharatiya Janata Party, is considered by many Western media analysts to be a Hindu nationalist party. And so Modi and the BJP is often accused of being xenophobes, racists, targeting Muslims and other minorities in India. And reading the Time article and many other Western articles, one gets the impression that Narendra Modi is not someone to be admired, and certainly not someone that is a democratic partner for the United States and others. And in fact, in this Time article, they're arguing that Joe Biden, the so-called legitimate president of the United States, needs to be very careful in how to deal with Narendra Modi as a partner in countering the influence of China. So what I want to do is really give you another perspective on Narendra Modi, someone who in fact is doing a lot of good in trying to bring back some of India's ancient heritage. Now Modi comes definitely from the kind of right-wing conservative side of Indian politics. The predecessor of Modi, these were associated with the Congress party, traditionally dominated by the Jawaharlal Nehru, the first Prime Minister of India, his daughter Indira Gandhi, her son Rajiv Gandhi, and now the wife of the Rajiv Gandhi, who was assassinated, and his mother was assassinated as well, Indira Gandhi. Her name is Sonia Gandhi, and has been the kind of unofficial or de facto leader of the Congress party ever since her son's murder. And now her grandson, Rahul Gandhi, is very prominent in the Congress party. So they're traditionally on the left wing of the political spectrum in India and embraced by global institutions and many kind of left-wing entities around the world. Now the thing is, the Congress party is very much a globalist entity, very much in favor of globalism, and is closely associated with what we in the alternative community would call the deep state. So the election of Narendra Modi as Prime Minister and the success of the BJP in 2014 was a major watershed in Indian politics. And one of the things that Narendra Modi did from the very beginning as Prime Minister was that he began to talk about restoring India's greatness and especially India's ancient role as a place where these highly developed technologies were used. Now, Indian classics, books like the Mahabharata, the Ramayana, and many other texts that derive from ancient India talk about vimanas, flying saucers, and advanced super science that the Indians had, and that India was a leading power many thousands of years ago when these highly advanced technologies were used widely in the Indian subcontinent. And so there's many stories, many legends of ancient wars in northern India involving atomic weapons. And some studies have been found of the soil in parts of the northwest of India showing nuclear contamination from some kind of ancient nuclear war. So there is historical evidence supporting the idea that these super technologies once existed and that they were used in India. So now what has happened was that these technologies, these super technologies were real, they were used, and they are found all over India, especially in the Himalayas, in repositories there. The deep state has known this and has for decades plundered India for its ancient technologies. This has been going on for a long time. The Gandhis, the Congress Party, were a party to that. They were part of this globalist effort to diversify and to internationalize the ancient technologies that were being discovered around the world, and the crashed UFO craft that were being recovered from extraterrestrial entities and that were being studied by the deep state. Up until the late 1960s, a lot of this reverse engineering was being done in the United States or in the Soviet Union, to a lesser extent in China. And this was done, and so that all these assets, countries like India or Europe, the United States, Australia, Canada, all of these countries where there were these artifacts found, they typically would be sent off to the United States for study. Now, in the late 60s, that became more of an international consortium. The group that was running that in the United States, Majestic 12, that became internationalized. And so by the 1970s, it had become more of a kind of like transnational corporation. And so the India branch of this, where these ancient artifacts were being studied, that became more prevalent in this kind of like international consortium, building these super advanced technologies, flying saucers, flying rectangles, flying triangles, advanced genetic studies, cloning and so forth. That all of these things had been internationalized, and India was a prominent part of this international consortium because of its ancient repositories. And the Congress Party aided and facilitated this, and there's many reasons for that. Now, what happened was that, of course, this international consortium monopolized these ancient technologies and used them for their own secret space programs, and only a few elites from all of the partner countries, including India, were party or would benefit from these advanced technologies that were being studied. So that gives you a little bit of an idea of India's part in all of this. So in 2014, the BJP is elected to power in a landslide win. The Prime Minister becomes Narendra Modi. And one of the first things he does is that he wants to restore India's ancient technologies. He wants to regain those and make those available to the Indian public and to the world. And he's actually talking about that. He's giving speeches where he talks about regaining India's lost sciences and making this a platform for the BJP and the party. And he's talking about ancient genetics, these ancient genetics that were used for creating super soldiers in ancient India, that he referred to Karna, one of the chief protagonists in the Mahabharata, the chief protagonist to the warrior Krishna, to the warrior Arjuna, who was being advised by Krishna. The name of this warrior is Karna. And according to Narendra Modi, Karna was created by genetics. He's a genetically created super soldier. And so now, given the advances in genetics, given what we have been told by a number of insiders, we can appreciate the fact that, yes, today, genetics are used to create super soldiers, and that this is something that is part of what the secret space programs have been doing, and what this consortium of corporations around the world are building. They're building super soldiers using genetics, cloning, enhanced bioengineering of the human genome, selective breeding, all of these things to build super soldiers. I mean, in the Star Trek series, The Rise of Khan, or that character Khan as a genetic super soldier, of course, Star Trek depicted that as sci-fi, but of course, according to Narendra Modi, this is part of India's ancient heritage. So what Modi wants to do from the get-go was to get Indian scientists to begin studying this and to begin releasing this technology to the world. Well, the deep state did not like that, because this was something that they were already doing, and they by no means wanted to make this publicly available, let alone make it available to the world. So from the very beginning, Narendra Modi and the BJP have been targeted as kind of right-wing Hindu nationalist fanatics and extremists, that they censor any kind of narrative that's critical of the BJP, that they're being accused of censorship. The same thing that the deep state is doing right now in the United States in censoring any supporters of Donald Trump and anyone questioning the legitimacy of this current president, Mr. He Who Can Be Bidden. They censored, removed from all sorts of platforms. So this has been leveled at Narendra Modi, saying, well, he's doing censorship in India. And this, of course, is exactly what we are witnessing happening in the United States and elsewhere through the major media platforms. So Narendra Modi has been compared to Donald Trump. He is the Indian Donald Trump. And for those in the kind of progressive alternative community that understand that Donald Trump was persecuted by the deep state in these manufactured controversies that just continue even now that he's out of office. Of course, we've seen this kind of hoax impeachment, second impeachment, and how that's turned out, all to stop Donald Trump. Well, Donald Trump and Narendra Modi are partners in this Earth Alliance. And there are others, such as Vladimir Putin, who has also been demonized by the deep state. And now recently, Xi Jinping, in my last podcast, I talked about the demonization of Xi Jinping. So the deep state is demonizing and vilifying all of these prominent leaders of this Earth Alliance that I'll be talking about in my upcoming February 27 webinar on the Earth Alliance full disclosure and the coming global revolution. So Narendra Modi is an important world leader. Do not believe the left-wing mainstream media demonization, vilification of him. He's actually a good guy. He's actually someone that wants advanced technologies that have been monopolized and controlled by the deep state for the exclusive benefit of elites to be released to the world. The same thing Donald Trump wanted to do from the beginning of his administration, dating from January 2017, when he issued a memorandum for 1,000 patents that had been held up under national security orders to be released. Donald Trump talked about a new world of advanced technologies being released in his 2017 inauguration. That was why they did not want Trump being re-elected, and what we saw in the 2020 election, a massive effort to take down Trump through all means available to the deep state, and we saw that. And I've talked a bit about that before, but right now the deep state thinks that they've succeeded in removing Trump. I think they're very wrong in that. Trump will come back. The deep state has been trying since 2014 to remove Narendra Modi, to undermine him. They've been doing the same with Russia's Vladimir Putin. And now they're starting to do the same with Xi Jinping. So this article by Times magazine targeting Narendra Modi needs to be seen as another attempt by the deep state to take down a prominent member of this Earth Alliance. If you want to learn more, then by all means find out about my upcoming webinar, February 27. You can learn about it at exopolitics.org. There's plenty of room if you'd like to register. Otherwise, you can just go to my website, read the articles and the podcast where I talk about the Earth Alliance and these different figures that are part of that. Don't forget to subscribe to my podcast on whatever platform you use. Thank you for listening, and aloha.